Take a girl and a guy, and they fall madly in love and form a family. Sprinkle in some counseling degrees and a doctorate, a dream of transforming relationships as we know it. And 20 years later, we give you power couple Dr. Ray and Jean Kadkodian. And this is their podcast, Couples Synergy.
Welcome back to another episode of Couples Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean, and this is our podcast about love, marriage, and relationships.
Go online, check us out at couplesynergy.com, or go on Facebook and Instagram at Couples Synergy. You can go on LinkedIn, you can go on Twitter. Please subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, or send us any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear more about. And now on to Couples Synergy, an in-depth look at love, marriage, and relationships, where we bring you our experience helping thousands of couples transform their relationships for over 20 years.
You know, everyone says you should work on your relationship, but nobody teaches us how. So we've created this podcast to teach people what they can do to create the relationship they've always dreamed of
with the partner they fell in love with. On today's episode, we are talking about projection and self-esteem.
Yes.
Because typically they go hand in hand in relationships. And this topic has kind of come about because of a client I was working with. And he's back in the dating world after a divorce, and he's really just kind of struggling with his own self-esteem. And he has such anxiety in trying to talk to a woman who he finds attractive because he thinks that he is completely out of her league and that she is not going to see him as a confident person, and she will have nothing or want nothing to do with him. And so he's got all this stuff going on in his head, and what happens is that he starts this conversation, and then he finds a way or an excuse to get out of the conversation.
It's interesting to hear you talk about that, because I'm trying to think back to being in the dating world, which is a very long time ago. And it seems to me that every guy that I potentially would want to find me attractive was probably not good for me. And so maybe I came off as desperate or something else. But I think something genuine, it supersedes all that other stuff.
Well, I think you start trying too hard.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, you try to become someone that you're not, or you're trying to become someone that you think that other person wants to see.
Because the guy that you're talking about, who I know pretty well, he's a real nice guy, a very nice guy, and he never lacked that confidence before.
Right.
In fact, he was almost on the other side, where he was so independent and so
sociable.
Yeah. And he didn't need anything. And now that he feels that deficit, and to me that's a stepping stone or a diving board, a launch pad to like the next level. And so obviously he's attracted to people who are not probably a good fit. And so he feels that, and then he tries to be something he's not. And I remember that feeling. Do you remember that feeling?
I remember trying too hard. I remember trying to present myself in a way that I was not, right? And it just comes off as not real, not genuine. And you seem fake.
Not only do you seem fake, you give off what you're projecting. So if you feel like you're not enough, you give off that you don't think that other person is enough either. It's a really weird thing that happens. And
it's all subconscious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just this thing that someone feels weird or feels awkward in this conversation with you because you're not being genuine and you're projecting this assumption. And so the first thing that a person wants to do is like get away. Right? I think I remember saying to him, I said, people don't want to hang around someone that they don't know or they can't get to know.
Because they're not being genuine.
Because they're not being genuine. And you're not showing all your cards, or at least being genuine. I mean, you don't have to be just, dumping your entire personal history on a person, and TMI. But if you're not opening up and showing a part of who you are, then it is very awkward. And you start to have this suspicion that the person wants something from you, right? Or they're being guarded for a reason.
Right. And that's where they they get the feeling that they're not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always talk about, you have to become the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. And if you like who you are and you stop apologizing for that, everyone wants to hang around with you.
Well, I think that's probably the problem, is that there's a lot of people out there that don't like who they are.
Exactly. And they create a persona that they think the world likes. And even if the world does like it, they're still very disconnected from it. It's still a horrible feeling to feel that way in the world. I would rather be alone with myself and accepting of myself than with a lot of people who thought they liked me, but they didn't know who I was.
I imagine famous people go through that.
Oh, they have to. And most famous people are liars, right? They do that for a living. They act.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have to put on a front. They have to put on a side of themselves in order to entertain. And it's not a complete picture.
Right.
And so then a lot of times, well, what is the saying? It's like, don't meet your hero or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They'll disappoint you.
Yeah, like never meet your heroes or something like that. Yeah, because you're only seeing a snapshot of who they are and who they're presenting to the world. It might not even be who they are, right? They're presenting to the world. And then when you meet them in person, you get a whole picture, and it just kind of dashes what your impression is, your initial impression.
I'm thinking about one of our friends who happens to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew him long before we knew him as an actor. We went and saw a play he was in. And so that experience of knowing him and who he is, and then seeing him act on stage, you could see what wasn't him. But if the only thing you know about a person is a role they're playing as an actor,
Mm-hmm.
then you can't resolve that. And that's why I don't meet your heroes, because your heroes are typically someone acting in the role of a hero, not a real hero.
Yeah. And it's amazing what their impression is. It is far from what you think you are giving off. Like, people are going to have their own impressions, and you could try to manipulate that or try to present, what you want people to see, but they're still going to see what they want.
Well, you can't help it. I mean, even in our relationship, and we've been together 25, married next month, and 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in different situations with different people, I still see a different side of you that I project onto.
Yeah.
Doesn't really happen so much if we're home alone or doing what we normally do, but it'll be in a unique situation. Be like, who was that? What are you doing over there? And we all get that, right? When we're in new situations, we have to face a part of ourselves we don't know yet. And so does our partner. And if you know someone very well, you will see that in them. And meeting someone for the first time, and especially the way we have to meet, because we're not designed to look at a two-dimensional picture with words that are a job description or a resume and fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
We're designed to see a person and smell a person and feel the essence of them and see the meta language, which you can't see on a profile.
No, and just feel the energy in the room. Like that also, versus the meta language, is just being in proximity. That's what we're designed to be able to pick up on. And this is a virtual world.
Yeah, a lot of people that we work with virtually, we want to meet them in person. It makes all the difference in the world. A virtual session with someone you know from being in person with them is very, very different. You know, especially with the backgrounds. The backgrounds are always, you know, we have a fake background. We have a staged background, I should say. It's not like a Zoom background, but it's staged. So when people see us on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, the videos that we create, you know, they wouldn't know we're sitting in the middle of Colorado with massive mountains behind us, or if we're in your parents' basement in Illinois, or if we're in a hotel room, you wouldn't know.
Or if we're in the office in the Chicagoland area. Yeah,
right. You just wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But in person, you know things that you don't know. And that's one sad thing about, you know, all the internet dating is it requires a level of skill that if you don't have, it kind of can kick you out of the running just because of that.
It's like learning a different language. And unfortunately, I think it is projecting an image out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are projecting what you want people to see and what you want people to learn about you. And so it's not natural. It's not a way of just meeting someone for the first time and having a conversation with them and having that conversation progress into, you know, a mutual understanding of who both of you are and then wanting to further that relationship. It's a swipe. It's like, I don't like this. I don't like what they're putting here. I'm just going to swipe, you know, and swipe them away or swipe them into wanting to know more about them. And it's just, it really takes away from, I guess, the normal interaction, the process of interaction and relationship building.
Well, how many times has one of us, probably more you than me because I'm better, just kidding, said something that offended the other person? And then we have an opportunity to say, that's not what I meant, or now that I've thought about it, I've changed my mind, or I didn't know that was going to hurt you. And you don't have that opportunity. You don't have that opportunity to go to another level of let this shape me and who I am, or let this shape us in who we are, if we just instantly, you know, swipe away. You would have swiped me away a long time ago. We both would have. Because relationships require that next level of, is that really what you meant? Or is that really how you feel? Or what about
I wouldn't have
this?
swiped you away.
Yeah, would have swiped me away.
Swipe or no swiping?
For sure. You were going to swipe me away because I had a kid. And that's after you fell in love with me. And it was like this whole idea of, how do we step into the future and you step into this Insta family role? Right. And that was a big thing. But because you had already fallen in love with me, you were like, crap, I got to give this a shot.
I can't swipe no more.
Because you could put it in your little criteria. I don't want anyone with kids. I don't want anyone with
just
this. I
weed
don't want
them
anyone
out.
with that.
Right. You could just totally weed them out.
I don't want anyone that's shorter than this height or fatter than this weight.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been all the weights. I haven't been all the heights. Which might have counterbalanced some of the weight.
A little scary, actually.
I mean, if that's what you fall in love with a person, that's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
You might have had more hair when I met you.
That's true. That's true.
But you also had other things that have gone away, and better things have replaced them. I think your heart is better than it was. Your ability to be more genuine and more kind and loving and compassionate has grown over the years, instead of being worried about maybe what other people think so much.
And my rock hard abs have gone away.
Thank God. Those hurt my ribs.
Oh my God.
But you know, those are the things that you can't fall in love with if you're not in proximity. And so we overjudge based on what? I don't know. You know, we just watched this movie. Oh, what was it called? It was the Christmas one where the girl loses her memory.
No, not remembering this. This is kind of funny. I'm not remembering.
She got in a ski accident. Remember, they were taking a fake ski picture.
With Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. And she's really fake, and her boyfriend is really fake. He's like a influencer. And their whole beginning of the thing was them creating this fake image of who they were. And then she fell because she doesn't know how to ski, and they were pretending to take this awesome ski trip picture. And she couldn't remember who she was, and she ended up being a really nice person when she forgot about her image.
Mm-hmm. Or the image she had created.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting thing because we need our communities, we need our families to keep us honest and to tell us to knock it off when we're being fake.
Well, that is a really good testament to not trying too hard, right? You know, she was just being her. She was just being genuine instead of trying to maintain the same persona that she had prior to the accident. And so in being herself, she was able to like create love. She was able to have a true relationship with someone instead of a fake one,
right?
That was generated by not only her projection, but it was also generated by the reaction that she was getting from other people, right? And what other people wanted her to be.
Right.
And so you reap what you sow. And so if you're going to project something that is not yourself out there, then you're going to get a reaction back that's either someone is being, repulsed, or someone, maybe they buy into this fake front that you're putting on. It's not going to last long, that's for sure, because that fake mask is going to fall apart at some point.
It's so fragile.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling. It's like, I guess you need 1 million friends in the virtual world in order to maintain the one or two that actually will care about you, because that's all there really is in real life. In real life, it's really that way too.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels, you see those big numbers, like you can't possibly love that many people in the world. It just isn't possible.
Which, along the same lines, I want to thank all of you out there, because sometimes we get some feedback that we are being genuine and that we are, and when we're interviewing people, they say the same thing too, because we are. That's exactly what we're trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to show that we are a real couple and we go through real struggles, even though we are in the business of helping people and helping couples.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like when you look at the marketing piece, we just can't do the whole, hi, I'm Jean, and would you like to change your relationship? Because we can show you the 17 steps that you could do right now. Like, that's not like who we are.
I think we just redlined the audio right there. Yeah.
So, but that's how people talk. And what it does is it activates that, fight or flight response, and it pumps you up. It's like going to the Baptist church and singing, and you get this big high. But then the high goes away and you've just spent money and you're nowhere where you wanted to be. And when you come up with something genuine, it's harder for people to trust that. And I think that would be the same thing in the dating world. Like the marketing piece is like your fake persona that you're trying to use this 10 seconds of being in front of someone to let them know that for 25 years you've been working hard doing this work and helping people and studying this stuff. I think that was pretty good. I did a good fake.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, the dating world and the profiles and creating an advertisement for yourself. And a lot of people have a very difficult time doing that, because how do you portray yourself in an advertisement?
Right.
And then dealing with the rejection. So let's say you are genuine. Let's say you are putting yourself out there that this is who I am, and I'm a sensitive person and I care about people, and here are some genuine pictures of myself, and you get crickets.
Yeah.
Or you get rejected. And that could be a huge blow.
There's a lot of people that'll say, well, when I met the person, they didn't actually look like their picture.
Yeah.
But if they actually put their picture out there, you probably would have never met them.
Yeah. I just, it's a tough world out there, that dating world, an online dating world, I should say.
Yeah. I remember someone saying that about me, because the way that I look tends to fluctuate pretty greatly based on a lot of things, especially if I gained weight or lost weight or something like that. And so when you look back at all of our stuff, I have many periods of time I look very different.
The many faces of Jean.
Yes, it's exactly what that person said. And, if I'm judged on one, I'm probably rejected on another. If I'm rejected on another, I'm probably, you know what I mean? It's like that is such a small way that we can discern about a human being, sadly.
Yeah, you just can't care too much. You just can't.
Well, one of the things that we've noticed is that it works better to form relationships with people. And in some of the guidance that we're being given about our company, they're saying, like, go tell people that you're looking to hire someone for this position. You probably aren't going to find this person on a job applicant website. You're probably going to find this person because someone knows them, and they're going to be vetted before you even start interviewing them. And I was like, wow. And I would say the same thing if you're in the dating world. Like, tell people you're interested, to ask people, do you know anyone?
What's interesting about that is that the client I was working with, he doesn't want to do that because he feels like it would project off an air of being desperate, an air of being pathetic.
And I would say if he did do that, he would get the feedback that he's not being pathetic or desperate, because his pathetic desperateness is happening because he's spiraling inward, not having those conversations.
For sure.
And just trapped in his own head.
And then on the outside, what it looks like is being aloof.
Right.
Or just being, there's no
I don't
depth.
really want to date. And so.
Right. That I'm content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our neighbors, I keep thinking about this woman that I know, and I think, they would be probably a great couple. They probably have a ton of fun together. They have common interests. They both have money. They both like to travel. And I just think, man, I don't think he'd ever give her a chance. I don't think she's, because I think he likes to date younger and attractive people, but I think that's also why he hasn't sustained a long-term relationship. But like personality-wise,
couple synergy, the dating matchmaking
we
service.
are not going into that service.
No.
But I get the same feeling when I'm around both of these people about how they are in the world and what's important to them. And in my mind, it feels like it would be, I would never mention it to either one of them. But I always think a lot of single people, I think they project something that's a lie. And I remember that, like, the idea of falling in love with the potential of a person instead of the person.
Oh, that's interesting concept. Yeah.
And it's like the potential of
right.
a relationship, but not the reality.
Well, that's like getting into a relationship thinking that you're going to change that person.
Yeah.
You're going to mold them into what you want versus who they are.
Which you can only do if you're molded or moldable. Like, if you know who you are, you certainly aren't going to attract or want to attract a fixer-upper.
No. Only assertive, confident people attract assertive, confident people.
And open, vulnerable people. So this guy clearly does not want to show anyone his vulnerabilities or insecurities, and therefore he just is feeding them.
Right. And so
Sadly.
If he does attract someone, he's going to attract someone who doesn't want to be open, doesn't want to be vulnerable, and is going to be equally fake.
And they're going to see him as aloof, and he's going to see them as aloof.
Yeah.
And they'll never get, because, if you've been listening to us at all, that vulnerability thing, it's kind of the glue to a relationship.
Yeah. It's kind of necessary.
Yeah, nobody wants to come in and get rescued by, some superhero and be a damsel. I think those days are long gone. I think genuine is so refreshing in the world.
In this day of not knowing what is the truth online. Yeah, I think being genuine is absolutely necessary for all relationships.
Yeah, I think that's why we decided that we were just going to kind of be open books about our life, Because if we wanted to help people in the world, we have to show that it's okay to be vulnerable. And clearly we're doing it because we get a lot of feedback that that's the case.
And that's, we're not fit for everyone's consumption either.
No. And that's okay. And you'll know that right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Talking about being in proximity and being around in the energy of people and building relationships, it just really made me think about why we really love doing the weekend intensives and why we like bringing people together, a small number of people, not like doing these huge events with hundreds of people, but doing it in smaller groups. This next one is going to be 13 to 15 couples, and it is a very intimate place and location and venue, and it is just beautiful. It's in the mountains, and just the energy of that. I just love doing it.
Yeah, we could go talk to 1,000 people, but we can't transform 1,000 relationships at one time. You can't. It's just not possible.
No.
It's like giving a massage to 10 people at once. You have to focus. You have to.
Ew.
Ewy. But that, and we're also careful about who do we want on the weekend with who.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the really cool things is one of the couples that was on our last weekend, they asked if they could come back and help in any way, shape, or form. They were so appreciative of what it did to their relationship, and they just want to be part of that energy again. And it really is a community thing that is organic, it's just really real. And that was cool. And I know there's a couple other couples that would, for sure, if there was an opportunity for them to come and facilitate in some way, they'd want to do that, which I think is really cool.
I think we're going to try to figure out a way to do that. Maybe mentors or something like that. But this is it is turning out to kind of grow into a life of its own, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah. And, just meeting people we've never met before who start to check out our podcast and then want to interview us like on their podcast. And then they're like, we want to be part of that energy. We want to be on that weekend. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to hear that. So, I guess that's what we're talking about is genuineness and being real in this really difficult time to do that.
Yeah. And not projecting something that you're not, really just staying in your own and being vulnerable and showing people who you are, because that's the only way to create long-lasting, healthy relationships.
And we were just working on our book that we're writing, and I was really focusing on like that whole concept of we start out in a relationship with what can I get? And ultimately, the goal of a relationship is what can I give? Mm-hmm. So the parent-child, what can I get? Part of a relationship that we are all formed in and learn about relationship through as parent-child has to be transformed into something else. And I don't think I've ever seen anything more beautiful on this planet than those 70, 80-year-olds that are in relationship for 60 years and they've made it to that place and they just glow around each other. Their bodies can barely move and they just take their time and make sure each other gets to where they want to go. And you could tell they would rather be nowhere else except with each other. Mm-hmm. So beautiful. And it's hard in this world to get that. And it does require you to know vulnerable, deeper parts of another human being. So I really hope that your client has the courage to start sharing this with people and to let them know that, hey, I'd really like to be in a relationship and I'm not desperate, but I've got something to offer. Because I know he does. I know who you're talking about. He absolutely has something to offer.
I hope he gets there too.
Yeah. And all the rest of you out there, if there's something locked in your heart and you've been faking your way through something, take a chance. Go be vulnerable.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on Couple Synergy. Our passion is in helping couples and people have happy and healthy relationships. And this podcast gives us a fun way of bringing our knowledge and expertise to you, our listeners. For all of you listening, please let us know how you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions, please email us at contact@couplesynergy.com. For more information about Couple Synergy and our programs such as Relationship 101, the Home Study Course, the Couples Weekend Intensive, and our premier coaching program called Couple to Couple, look us up online at couplesynergy.com.
And if you know someone who could benefit from this episode, please download it and share it. And thank you for listening.
Until next time, synergize your life and synergize your love.
You have been listening to Couple Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean Ketkodian. Couple Synergy was recorded, edited, and produced by Dr. Ray and Jean Ketkodian. Voiceover and music entitled Breathe and Let Go was recorded and composed by Gina Gonzalez.